what are you doing?
Oh, what's that now? You're doing what with what, sir?
Sir.
Sir.
Sir, this is not the place.
Sir.
Sir, please.
I do it anyway. Please
Sir,
put
please.
it away, sir. Put the thing away.
Get
Please
along,
stop.
sir.
See, got my little fancy little notebook here.
Yeah, I know.
I feel so professional.
Yeah, I know.
I feel so cool with it.
You don't look as messy.
No, this is paper is just frayed and all crumpled. I got this. But anyways, am I good to go?
You are good to go.
What is up, everybody? This is Joe Adams with the Relentless Pursuit Podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As always, we got my man Logan Hyder with Cinema 83 LLC in the house, doing the things, back from vacation.
That is true.
And
That is a true statement.
once again, and the fourth of many times to come, my man Jesse Mays, the muscle medic, in the house.
What's up?
Hell yeah.
And
What's up?
And Jesse
That's
got
how I'm doing it.
Jesse got the sandwich episodes, which we've never done before. He got one 2 weeks ago, then Dylan, and then because of the way it worked out, I'm going to edit this one.
What's a sandwich episode?
Because you're 2 weeks ago, then Dylan, and then this week we got to put this one out.
Okay.
So you're getting 2 out of the last 3 weeks as a Jesse episode.
Damn, Jesse.
How about that?
I thought I got sandwiches.
Superstar.
No, unfortunately, we didn't bring any sandwiches for the
I
sandwich
deserve
episode.
a sandwich for this.
He was like, oh, I don't really care about that. I thought we were talking about food.
I really like BLTs. Please
I
give
love
me,
club sandwiches.
please give me a BLT.
I don't like tomatoes, so I don't like BLTs.
I've had a BLT in a long time. You know what, though? I'm not a huge fan.
I
do like them, but it's not like, oh, I got to have BLT. But that's you, man. You know, we all have our flavors.
I've never really eaten grilled cheeses, but Margaret makes a mean grilled cheese.
Bro, I tell you what, BLT wise though, McAllister's really put me on that damn BLTA.
I haven't had McAllister's in years.
Yeah, I mean,
McAllister's
I-
is awesome.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I've got food poisoning there twice, so I won't go back. But
We are not sponsored by McAllister's.
right.
Yeah, we don't have to. We're not risking
But
anything.
I tell you what, putting avocado on a BLT is the way. Bacon and avocado, man, sandwich.
Yeah, I never done an avocado on it.
I was gonna
You go home and you make it like a thick bacon sandwich with some good old fresh avocado.
Shouty thick. Nope.
Okay.
But anyways, we're just kind of rambling. There's no like crazy topic of conversation today. We're just going to banter about things. But we do want to educate everyone a little bit. We'll have Jesse do this. So at the beginning of the episode, as you saw, we did some weird things, maybe to most of you. We did a little Hapé ritual. And I would like Jesse to elaborate on what exactly that is and what it is and the intention of doing it, like why.
Right. So I'm not gonna play like I'm the Hapé expert or anything, but I got the pleasure of going through a course with I went through a combo course, and in combo, which is frog venom, you learn you could call it the trauma trio or the healing trio, and Hapé is one of the sacred medicines that we use for that ceremony. And typically you would start with Hapé, and then we'd go into Sananga, which is eye drops that you put in your eyes, and then we would do combo, which is frog venom that you would burn on the skin, or you would burn the skin, make way for the combo dot, which is like a little booger, and then go through that ceremony.
I want to add,
And we'll talk about that later.
yeah, I will add that the Hapé, the first time I did is when we did ayahuasca, like a year and a half ago.
Right.
But you did the drops here to me.
Right.
You didn't really tell me what to do. You were just like, I'm gonna give you these eye drops. It's ritual shit.
I mean, I told you plenty of times beforehand, though.
Bro, I was like, my eyes were like twitching. He was like,
Yeah.
all right, try to hold your eyes open and roll them around. And my eyes locked
I said blink and look left and right.
and blinked. Yeah, you said that. And then Jesse's like, open your eyes back up and do that. And I'm like, my eyes are fucking locked shut, dog. I can't open my eyes. They're just burning.
That happens.
And I just stayed there and I laid there and I
happens
just
sometimes.
fucking took it.
It happens, man.
I think you said it's a good thing when it happens. It takes a while for that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting spiritual experiences that you can have with these, and I would say that, for me, it's Sananga. I think it's like my 8th try, because for a while it just burned like crazy, and it was like, okay, this is what we're doing. It's just a burning sensation. And then I had one that just so happened to be with the entire Kuntanawa tribe in there, and not the entire tribe, but the chieftain and his wife and some tribe members and the a full circle of like 50 plus people, and everybody's going around getting this sananga that they brought, which is like their homemade sananga. And none of these other sanangas really affected me other than intense burning. And through that process, you grow, that's enough. You grow just through intense burning. But this one hit me like a freight train. And it really wasn't that it was intense burning. It was just like, I couldn't open my eyes. My entire body started like doing weird shit, seizing up. My spine started moving. The necklaces I had on, I just started like ripping them off because they felt like they were strangulating me. And then there's all kinds of crap going on. It was like my entire being, and it was like 30 minutes. It was a 30-minute experience. Everybody else was already up. I was having an intense experience. So it was pretty wild. But going back to Hapé is this powder that you use for kind of the initiatory ceremony of any ceremony when it comes to sacred medicine, South American sacred medicine specifically. And I'm not going to say that they use it for every single ceremony. So they, just like Michelle down in Costa Rica, she doesn't prefer people to do Hapé beforehand. However, I feel like it helps, and everybody's, different. There you got other tribes that do combo, do ayahuasca and other sacred medicines that typically will start with Hapé because it is mapacho or nicotinica rustica. Some are tobacco, but it is a nicotine that is a base with other plants that are basically baked down into a powder, and it takes a very long process to create. It's insane when you actually like look up the process of making it. I mean, it's a very ritualistic, very intense. They pray on it for days. They go very deep into it, and they make sure that this medicine is medicine. There's a lot of people who can kind of abuse it. There's a lot of people who can get into, and I've been one of them. There's a lot of people who can really go overboard with it and kind of lose the sacredness of it. And that's been part of my journey, is having to experience that with a lot of different medicines, is like see the full extent of it, dissect it. But why we do Hapé is to drop you in to the meditative space, emotional clearing, setting intentions, getting right with yourself and it's, us doing this in this setting is awesome because there's a lot of tribes out there that would, if there was a chieftain talk, or there's a man-to-man talk that need to be had. Yeah. Instead of like having a drink together, they would do Hapé. And it was like, all right, dog, we got to talk about this, but like, let's sit down, let's clear our mind. Let's tune in the same frequency, and then let's talk. Yeah. It's much easier. It clears the tension in the head, clears the tension in the space. And then there, like this is bullet Hapé. There is thousands of different Hapés. It's crazy. There's so many different combinations, and the combinations all have a base of some type of nicotine, but then other plants added to them for different effects. And I think it's amazing that they figured this out. I don't think they figured it out like that, a lot of them would say the God showed them, or ayahuasca showed them, or how to make this and how to do this. But you do have, thousands of capillaries in your nose that are delivering this immediately to your bloodstream. And so that's how they use their medicine. That's how they utilize plants. And there's plenty out there with no nicotine at all. Just plants out there that they utilize as medicine, that they go through the same baking process and cultivating process that you then get shot up your nose, and it immediately goes into your blood. And it's like just the fastest way to deliver it. And I will say that it is by far the fastest thing to disrupt and destroy a respiratory issue, upper respiratory infection.
Well, I guess if anybody out there is getting any respiratory infections, do some Hapé.
For the record, we do have to say that we are not giving medical advice when it comes to that.
Yeah. This is all based off of just
this is anecdotal.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Yeah. Don't be going to do some shit without knowing. But I mean, I'd say it's relatively safe. I mean, I haven't had any issues.
I believe you. I'm just saying, somebody, it's not even for people doing it the way they're supposed to. It's for the people that will do it the wrong way and then be like, oh, well, Jesse said. Just a little disclaimer.
Yeah. No. I'm definitely not condoning it by any means. It's just part of my practice.
Yeah.
Our practice.
Yeah. I only ever do it with you. I mean, I've done it a couple times by myself because you got me some, but I've only ever done it with you.
Yeah, it's for me personally, it's highly ancestral, and even though it's not made by my ancestors, that's what taps me into my my ancestry in my meditative space.
Yeah.
It shifts my energy quite a bit, and it really brings up the baseline for who I am, you know, where I came from.
Well, I mean, like at the times I've been at my altar, you know, going into meditation, and times I've done it before, it definitely like centers me a lot more. It's almost like it clears my mind of like all the chaotic thoughts that are going on most of the time. It's like, you know, my head's like a pinball machine half the time, you know, so things are just bouncing around, but it definitely kind of slows things.
Sorry.
You're good.
I was just gonna say, as part of that, like just because it's so intense, it just clears your mind. Like you can't focus on anything else except for that.
I think there's a lot of things going on there. One of the things is that you're shooting a dust that's not like, I mean, if you got that on your lips, it would burn, right? And it's because it's nicotine and it's in the, like, it's super fine powder, super fine. And so all of that, especially like your first time, all of that is very intense. So yeah, it's going to clear your mind, but also it's kind of hitting your frontal cortex. It is hitting the blood-brain barrier, which, you know, we actually have plenty of science on it. The guys who educated me on it were doctors, and they had plenty of science on it that stated how neuroregenerative it was, how anti-canceritic it was, how mentally enhancing it is, right? Because it's not nearly enough damage now if you abuse it. Like I have abused it. I mean, I'm talking like benders.
That's what I was going to ask you the next question. So what would be like a typical usage for that?
One time when you meditate, typically. But I mean, you can use it in several different sources, and then they have warrior ceremonies with a lot of it, and that's not necessarily abuse. It's just kind of like a gauntlet of it. I mean, they have 6-foot poles, like, so this is a tepe, and they got 6-foot tepes that they have that they will
all going into one person.
Yeah. Well, no, like you don't feel the whole damn thing, but
okay, I was like, holy fucking shit.
But I mean, that adds a lot of velocity.
Yeah.
And like the longer, you know, this is a very personal one, meaning like you're going to get close to a person. So the shorter it is, the more personal it is, and the longer it is, the more it's kind of used for a separation of energy almost. But when they in their warrior ceremonies, or just even their version of dudes getting together and drinking beers, right, is more so in a highly spiritual gauntlet manner of kind of like a push or a test. Because I mean, they do that back to back, like each knows 15 times, just like
who are you talking about right now?
The Kootenawa tribe, the Yawanawa tribes of Brazil, and Makir. You know, they're all kind of, you know, all of them are different, so I can't speak on any one of them.
Right.
But I know, you know, like for instance, the Matsis, which is big proponent for combo. Really, they probably have the most combo, the frog venom.
Oh yeah.
They're the ones who go out and find the frog, catch the frog, get the venom and release it back, and then, you know, they use Hapé quite a bit. And so, I mean, they do it pretty rigorously and brutal, and they do it pre-hunt. So it's a pre-hunting ritual a lot of times, along with the combo. They will do a pretty rigorous, like the night before and the morning of 2 combo ceremonies, and then plenty of Hapé ceremonies as well, and then go out and hunt. And, you know, they claim with combo, which I can't disagree with, because it's insane for your immunity. I mean, it's insanely immune boosting, but they can get bit by snakes and all kinds of stuff out in the jungle, and that is their vaccine. They call it the vaccine of the jungle.
Really?
And so they go out and hunt, and then also they believe that the Hapé gives them intense visions of where the animals are. And so they may not do the combo and just do a Hapé ceremony or multiple Hapé ceremonies before going out into the jungle, and again, like blasting your skull off pretty much until your eyes are rolling in the back of your head. Just like brutal.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
One time I blew it in my eye.
Ooh.
Not on purpose.
That's fun.
Yeah, I had one of he got me a little personal one. And my buddy came over and I was like, yo, check this out. This is Hapé shit.
So check this out.
And I was like, yeah, you just blow into it like this, and the part just went. And I was like, oh, it's right in here, my fucking tear duct part, man. And it was burning like shit. I was flushing my eyes with water. My eye was red as hell.
So you were talking about how it's more personal with the one that we just saw you give Joe, right? And then you were talking about and you were saying that there's a lot more like intricacies to the way that it's done than it looks like, and you were just explaining some of them, right? So one of the word that you mentioned was velocity, right? So if you pay attention to like when you did it to Joe, it's very like a blow dart almost. So what is that about?
So there's multiple different types of blows, and I'm not gonna like try to go into all of them, but there's like 4 main ones. But typically the blow, the only way to kind of do it is a sound, I guess. So the blow would be like, and you're trying to make this every time, but the velocity changes, and then also the timing of it changes, and a lot of them are matched with like sacred animals, and that would be like a hummingbird. And then you have like the deer, which is just a more intense hummingbird, which is like, and it's all of them.
Dude,
I
I'm
would
trying
say
to pay attention to you, and Joe's over there acting like a.
I'm trying to practice this shit, man.
He's over there spitting all over his mic and shit.
Yeah, he's never been good at it. It's just it's. I'm sorry, it's hilarious watching you and Jake try to do it, especially Jake, man. Jake just,
Jake's like, I should have this.
What trying to?
Bro, I don't know what's going on.
What, them giving it to other people, or are you talking about them like giving it to other people?
Themselves.
Oh,
like,
even themselves.
Just trying to fucking get it in.
Is it the same? It's the same mechanism when you give it to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's harder. It's definitely harder when you give it to yourself because it's like there's so much. It's just the anticipation, the blow, and then also just committing to it because it's a commitment because like it's gonna hurt, and then it's just like halfway through the blow. If you're doing it right, again, there's a lot to it. So it's like when you start, you're trying to gradually create it to create this like kind of puff of a cloud first, and then you hit it. And so when it starts going and it starts rolling, and then you hit it, I mean, it's got to be the most gentle blow in the very beginning. And then when it starts going, I mean, you can already feel it in your own nose, like when you're doing that. And so if you're really not experienced and you can't like hold it down and just be centered while you're going through it, it'll start hurting, and then you'll just rush and go, and then it'll just go all in your throat and all. Yeah. I mean, it'll hurt a lot.
It's hard to focus when you're doing your like. So what you're essentially getting at is blowing others is much tougher than blowing. Or much easier than blowing yourself, pretty much.
Yeah, I just want to applaud us all for getting that far before we made a joke about it. I just want to that fantastic.
That's one that's been lingering there.
I mean, right as soon as he started going, I know how serious it is, and so I was like, he said there's different types of blows, and I was like,
yeah, I get the joke. But you also said it backwards.
I know,
which is the worst part.
Well, it's because I was so excited to like get it out.
I'm gonna say it. I know
it was like the anticipation, and then boom,
shit.
Bob dropped it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
you've been thinking about that joke for a minute, huh?
I know,
That's
and then it fucking.
I was waiting to see what the hell was cooking in your brain because I saw the back of your brain like little gears.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. I'm so proud of you that it took that long for you to say something.
Yeah, you like
because like it almost got me right in the beginning, and like normally you'll pop off on stuff that's not even.
Like it won't even get to the point where it makes sense what I'm saying. But now. But anyways.
I have another question for you. Unless you want to go somewhere.
No, dude, go for it.
So there was one specific comment on your last episode that I want to ask you about. So this person said, and then, feel free to take this wherever, break it down however you want to, but it was on one of the clips. I think it was, I don't remember which one it was, but you were talking about the trip, right? But you were talking specifically in that clip about different things that you were seeing and the spiritual components. I don't remember, again, exactly which clip it was, but the synopsis of the comment, it was long because people like this tend to, I don't know, they got time on their hands. But basically it said that was not spiritual. That was a reaction of chemicals in your brain and nothing more. The only reason why you saw that, like similar to what somebody would say in a dream, right? They're like, your brain is just firing off and showing you things. It's not, basically, the guy basically said it's not real. Like, you take this substance, it makes your brain see things, but it's in no way like an actual spiritual event. It's just the way that you kind of interpret it. I'm curious about your response to that. And you can jump in on that. Yeah, you can jump in on that.
I got something to say to that if I could.
Yeah.
Because I saw that and I immediately, this is what I thought. It's just like someone trying to say, God isn't real, whatever God you believe in, right? Like you got a lot of people that are really good with book words, and so they feel like everything needs to be calculated by science and
really
understood.
Good with book words.
But like the fact of the matter is, like, spirituality can't be calculated with fucking science. You can't really like put together some equation and figure it the fuck out. So people are going to try to disprove anything that's very extreme and you can't really understand unless you've experienced it yourself. So they're gonna be like, oh yeah, well, this is why, rather than just fucking understanding the fact that like there's a lot
That's
of
a
unknown.
great sound effect for that too, because that is
Yeah, rather than understanding the fact that there's like so much unknown, and so I think that's just I don't know. That's my outtake on it. It's just like,
And also Albert Einstein, most famous scientist ever. For most people, I would think everybody knows fucking Einstein, right? He said that the universe is too complicated to be an accident.
exactly. So people just want to try to understand things, and at the end of the day, you can't understand it all. But it's okay. But anyways, I want to know your input. That's just where I'm at on that shit.
I feel like the lean back, he's about to go in.
It's going hard.
I don't know. I don't really have too much of a comment.
I was about to say, I bet you probably just want to like just be like, dude, whatever.
No, I mean, everybody has their own journey, and everybody has to recognize what it is that they want out of this life and what it is that you feel that you need to uphold, and if I was on that train for a long time trying, I guess I can't really ever say that I've ever been on that's not real train, just because my entire life, like I told you before, like it's like my motto of lifestyle is fuck around and find out. Like I don't really care too much for too many opinions that haven't done it themselves versus like, because I mean it's just an opinion at that point rather than a story point, right?
Yes.
And it's not a journey point. So that's why I don't really care for a lot of the statistical database science, even in my own practice of taking care of bodies, because there's a lot of things that I have tested and pioneered, and I've done that mostly on myself. I'm not going to do anything to my clients that I wouldn't do to myself. But that being said, the understanding that I have is my own personal one, and I that person doesn't have to agree with me, and I definitely can't agree with them on how they're going about it. I would ask the question, is it possible that science is a logical dictation basis of what you're able to actually study and replicate in the human body, and then the experience that you're having, right? So like those chemicals, like absolutely all that's happening, right? All of what that person said is happening. There are chemicals firing off and this and this and this, but does it have to stop there at the point to where you're like, and that's why, or is it because like the biggest thing is that when you're out there in that like outer rift, like really, really deep in those trips, and you are just so far gone, it's not even funny. The thing that always hits you, and like especially after you think you're dead or think you're dead, and you're also having some very odd, weird experiences, right? Some of these just aren't hallucinations. Some of these are like straight up like
Experiences,
full on alternate reality. They're all experiences, but that's what it comes back to, is like you think you're dead and you're like, well, I'm still experiencing. And I've been in that state of like completely being out in the cosmos of space. I've been in that state of being in a totally different reality other than human reality. And then I've also had that space. The most awkward and odd of all time is when you are in a space where like it's almost like time's not moving, but there's still things going on, and they're not the same things that were going on before. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, your kitchen totally looks different. Your friends totally look different. And I mean, full on reality changes to the point to where you're talking to people. All of a sudden you step through a doorway and you're talking to people that aren't actually, you've never met them, but you're having that full on experience. And it's not like
As if you know them.
Yeah. It's not it's not an apparition.
Right.
It's not like this is if anything, like this is the hardest dream you've ever had.
Yeah.
And so being able to do all of that, right? At some point, the point of mysticism starts to get, really open and blown open, should I say, when you really go into the deep end, because then you start asking, okay, what's the difference between a dream and the actual reality? Because when the dream starts getting like, because I think we all think when we start getting into this stuff, like, it's just the same as a dream. When you go to sleep and you have these dreams, And so then the question gets like, okay, the dreams are getting so intense, whether it actually be in my sleeping dreams or it be in my tripping dreams, however it is, what's the difference? Because when you have such a super hardcore experience that is so out there, some people, you know, I could say this is where people get lost in it and go into psychosis. And for every shamanic journey, you have to completely lose your mind. And I know, as weird as it sounds, I would say I don't have a mind, right? I have a heart, because my mind tells me all kinds of crazy shit about what's going on, right? But no matter where I'm at and no matter what experience I'm having in the trip, like, I think the grounding principle is always the same, and it takes a minute to get there, especially in the intensity of transition of a trip. But like, all you have is what you have, right? So if you're in some kind of wild world and your body's totally transmorphic and you're experiencing something that you've never experienced before, eventually you have to ground back into, all right, well, I knew it was, and I'm experiencing this now. And is, you know, am I going, you know, at some point you got to validate it.
Yeah.
And so I think the spiritual journey portion of it is just, it's all experience. The entirety of your life is experience. There's nothing here. And sorry, I'm gonna let you go in a minute, but there's nothing here. And it's like, the whole point of this life is experience, and trying to really make some kind of logic out of it in the first place is acting like we already know everything.
Yep. It's silly, man.
So you're basically saying, like, I think
Logan.
I just want to make sure that this is, so you're basically saying that that it's an experience. Like, you were going through how it's an experience, and you're basically saying that that's no different than anything else. So how could this be any less real than anything else? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, interesting. That's really fascinating. And I had like 4 other things, but I'm gonna let you go.
So, well, a couple things I just think about too is, like, you know, a lot of these comments like that stem from people that haven't even had the experience. So one, it's just like, simple fix. I will respect your assessment more after you go share this experience. Go drink as much ayahuasca as you did,
right, and
then come back and tell me whether you feel the same. And if you do, I'm gonna be like, all right, cool. Like, that's your perception of it. Like, I can't hate on that, but at least you took upon yourself to create your own opinion, actually. And so that's the whole thing too. And so it's just like, I say to people like that, it's just like, rather than trying to fight it, why don't you figure it out on your own? Because truly your opinion is invalid unless you've actually experienced these things for yourself. And it's just
I can kind of go in on this on a little bit of neurophysiology too, because that's like usually where people want to listen, right?
We're about to run up on a break though. We got like a minute.
I do. Let me finish. Okay, I want to finish this. So,
we're on a hot conversation right now.
Well, what I wanted to say is, like, recently, a couple months ago, I had somebody try to disprove my beliefs, and they're like, everything I believe is in this book. So where's yours? And I'm like, well, it takes a little bit of everything.
Like, they tried to break it down.
This stuff's been broken up over time, and so you have to refer. But that doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, how? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And they're like, prove to me. And I'm like, well, spirituality comes from the heart. That's all I can say. I follow my heart. And they were just constantly trying to disprove this, but yet all they know is that. And this is like, I've tested my spirituality in many different ways. I've studied a lot of different things. And it's like, well, so how do you, it's kind of coming on the same token. It's like, how are you so sure of your faith if you've never tested it? And a lot of people want to talk about how strong their faith is, yet they've stayed in one box. And it's the same thing with psychedelics and stuff. They stayed in one box and one lane their whole life, but they've never tested anything else. They've never questioned. They've never done any of this. So are you that sure your foundation's that strong? But anyways, I don't know. It's just something I reflect on. It's the same thing with psychedelic experiences or any experience in general.
Don't you know, Joe, testing your faith is the devil?
Oh, yeah, that's what they say. That's what they try to tell you.
Yeah. I just reset them, so if we just want to keep going, you can.
Well,
you were going to, unless you want to take a break. You had to pee or something?
No, good. If we'll just call it if someone's got to pee or something.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that there was I think it was DMT, but Ari Shafir, I think, is who it was. But anyways, on Rogan, they were talking about how he took DMT, and he talked about how he lived another life for like 2 months or 2 years or so. It was either 2 years or 2 months, but like, he had friends, he had places that he went and hung out, he went to sleep and woke up, he had a wife, he had kids, like and to the point that when he came back, he mourned them. When he came back from his trip, he literally mourned these people because he literally felt that much of a connection with them, like as if he had lost all these people because now he was back here.
Yeah.
Like that's how connected. Yeah. But he lived like that part that was crazy to me is that he lived like, I can't remember if it was 2 months or 2 years, but either way, the fact that he just lived a life for like an extended period of time somewhere else, like, you know, maybe that was in his head, but that seems very.
Yeah, no, it regardless, you can't really destroy someone's experience. It doesn't, that's the thing that doesn't matter. Like we we could talk about trying, I can't prove that you're here, Joe.
But it's funny though, because like my perception is like, I feel like maybe, I don't know, I'll use another example, but, at the end of the day, like trying to disprove someone else's experience is truly useless. Like there's no point in trying to do that. Like, hey, you're wrong because I'm right because of my experience tells me I am. But my experience is totally different than yours. So how do you just assume? But I think a lot of people cross those boundaries. Like I typically am very open. Like, all right, this person is the way they are. They see things the way they do because of the experiences they've had in life. And I'm not, it's not my job to sit here and tell them that they're wrong or right. I just know that my experience is true to me and like I'm experiencing it and I'm learning from individuals and I hear them and I respect that. But I'd much rather just like, I always try to understand that, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I think it's just funny when people are, I think, doing that kind of shit.
No, man, I think it's like, I've tested the water so much with trips. You know, I've got like, I mean, I was tripping every weekend for like 2 years. It was very intense. And when I was out in that camper, man, like I did some wild shit. Like I did some really stupid shit.
You were living there, right?
Yeah, I was living in a camper for like a year. And so out in the middle of the woods, I didn't have any like, yeah, I think I've told that story, right? Yeah.
Negative.
Okay, well, what's happening with my mic? You keep fucking with it.
That's me turning.
I do want to touch a couple things too.
I'm gonna turn it up now because it echoes.
Well, one of the things that I started kind of questioning, right? Because drugs are drugs, and that's what I thought. And then, you know, start taking acid and mushrooms and shit, and like looking into it, or not looking into it, not doing my research, but actually feeling into it and seeing like some shit happen. The first few times was just feelings, right? Then you start having quote unquote hallucinations, and like, okay, so the walls are moving, like everything's, you know, kind of moving around. Okay, it's weird. Wow, that looks brighter. This doesn't look brighter, but that looks brighter. Okay, and then it starts kind of that's kind of like the initiatory phase that I feel like no one gets out of. No one goes past that. And then when you take like a whole fucking bag of mushrooms, man, and you have some really wild ass like visual experience that it's like everything's moving, just like I said, super bright colors, shit's going Mario Kart, all that stuff, we can still call those hallucinations. Then when it all stops and you feel sober, but like for instance, I'm walking outside with my dog, and like this was a really terrible trip. This was a massive 10-gram trip that I blended all the mushrooms up, put it in orange juice, and the citric acid will turn it'll turn the psilocybin into psilocin, and it will absorb faster into your body. I fucked around and found out that I cried all fucking night on that one. But
so those are called hero doses, right?
I don't know what the fuck that was called.
But that's a thing, right?
That was a not again.
That was a not again dose.
Dude, that was a dude. But I mean, I learned so much out of that. But when you're crying for hours because like it's 10:20 and it's stuck at 10:20 and you keep testing it, like I went outside, took my dog out. Okay, still 10:20. What the okay, clock's broken. Check my phone. No, it's 10:20. Oh, fuck.
Like you were seeing that, like the time 10:20.
Yeah, man, and like I'm
that would
dude, I'm gonna
oh my god, I would flip out, dude.
And so it's like I turn my Xbox on 10:20. I go check like bedroom clock 10:20. I'm like,
bruh,
dude, what the fuck? And so I'm like freaking out, crying. I'm like, nope, I died. I overdosed on mushrooms. You can't overdose. You're totally in a different realm. This is a big ass story, but then it's like it got so to the point to where I felt like I cried for years, centuries, bro. And my dog is like really trying to recover me. My dog is in there like bringing me toys and shit, which she never does. And she's like looking at me like intently, and I feel like I can understand that she's trying to communicate with me. Come on, come back. I'm like get out of this, man. Like, let's go to the room. And I'm not listening to her. And then like, dude, I swear, I like, it got to the point where I'm standing up, looking at my stove clock, and I'm like, all right, fuck this, dude. 1, 2, 3, and I get to 60 and it turns to 1021. I'm like, no, dude, no. Yeah, dude. I'm like freaking the fuck out. I'm like, oh, dude, this is bad. This is really bad. And then it goes back to 1020. I'm like, no. And I was like, start crying again, freaking out. I'm like, dude, this is not.
Was that alternate reality? Or do you think were you like actually paused in time?
Well, no, like this is where it gets like this is still just like the middle of the trip. That like this was very long, and when you have really fucked up trip, like I mean, I really thought I was dead, and then it got to a point to where this is really funny. I had a cloud lamp. I was a big tripper, so I had a fucking cloud lamp in my room. Still do actually. I haven't taken it out.
I was a big tripper. I used to have. Well, now that I think about it,
I haven't taken it out. It's just sitting up there. It hasn't been on for a while, but. So I go and decide, all right, I'm fucking dead, whatever. And I go to my room, and I was thinking I was in hell, right, for a while. And then I go to my room, and I see my cloud lamp on, and then my dog's there. I'm like, man, well, I'm not in hell. Like
maybe not.
If I'm dead, I'm in heaven, bro. I got my dog. I got this badass.
Yeah.
I got this cloud lamp, dude. Like this is fucking cool. Be. So then I finally like I went outside and I was just like walking around. I was just like looking at shit, and it was like shit was just being created in front of me. I was like, dude, this is crazy. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, and it just felt like a dude and his dog at the center of the journey creating the world. And it was like, that's how God started somehow, like a dude and his dog. And so I'm like walking around.
I love that, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Love that.
It was really cool. And then, but here's where it gets weird. This is where the trips get weird. And this is where you start becoming a believer of wild shit. And when it's like 10:20 and you're having these hallucinations and you're time stuck, if that's not enough, when you're walking around a neighborhood and in the center of a fucking road, there's a black doorway and you're like, what the? And at that point, I didn't care. At that point, I was like, what the fuck? Oh, okay. And it's like, you're standing in front of it and it's like, of course there's a black doorway here. I gotta go in it.
Like it just kind of makes sense.
Yeah. You're just like, you're so far gone. And that's kind of a trip thing. I feel like that you feel is that you feel like in several different places, you're like looking around and you're like, of course. Yeah, dude, that makes sense. Oh yeah.
Like
dude,
normally it would freak you out. But you're like, oh yeah.
Well, I mean, you could like look at a tree and its placement and just how perfectly it's placed and be like, yeah, dude, of course you're placed like that, dude. Anyway, but when you go through like a black door and you turn into an energy being and you go to an alternate dimensional reality and you're met with like other energy beings and then like you just go through this shit, and then I'm not going to go into that story because it's very long and I know like Joe's got something to say, but then it's like I stepped off of the edge of this like totally different reality, and I just like there was like literally an edge. Like I walked until there was nothing else. I don't know how many years I was doing that, but I walked until there was nothing else. I looked down and I jumped off and I was like, well, I guess that's it. And I was totally cool with it. And I jumped off and then bloop, back in my body.
Was your dog still with you when you were doing
it? Was a ball of light. My dog was a ball of fucking light.
Crazy.
And but yeah, like I jumped off, and then next thing I know, I felt like a huge rushing down of like, and it was like I was back in my body. I was back in my room. I was standing up in my room facing my bed, and it was 11:40, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like it was pretty.
So did you even actually go outside? Do you think?
I don't know. I don't know.
Exactly. He said exactly.
It could all have been an illusion.
But that's what I'm saying is like, sure, okay, cool,
but the
dream.
Experience was real.
Yeah, I mean that experience was tangible as fuck. Like I have that experience just the same as I have the experience of hugging my mom or like me and Joe fucking bumping knuckles or whatever the fuck it is. Like at what point when it gets that extreme, you start to realize like all of this is a fucking dream. And so when you really come to that conclusion that all of this is God, like where's God? Where's God at? It's everything.
Yeah, when they say, and that is something that Christians say, like the God's everywhere, that I think that people misinterpret, and that's the right interpretation of it.
Yeah.
I forgot about this earlier, so
I don't think there's a right interpretation of God.
Well, I just mean that like when they say that He's everywhere, I think that's what they mean by that. But what I was going to say, this is a simple example. I feel like you don't have to have tripped to like understand, or maybe either that, or I'm going to look like an idiot here. But a wet dream, right?
Oh, things took a turn. Getting dark,
but
things are getting dark here.
I know, but
whoa, Logan.
But think about it.
Are you trying to tell us something?
I'm saying you're having a dream, right? It's not real, but it is real. Like
and so
I see your point.
Do you see what I'm saying? Though, like it's
valid.
Like how,
okay, I thought you were getting perverted on us.
How is like that's kind of what you're talking about? Like it's clearly to your body such a real experience that you have a physical reaction
exactly.
to it in the quote unquote real world, right?
All right, so my fucked up rebuttal to that is
To my fucked up analogy.
to your fucked up analogy, but also to whatever comments would be like, oh, it's just happening in your brain, right? Okay, cool. So a wet dream is possible.
That would be the same exact kind of comments you would get on
So
that.
a wet dream is possible. You imagining something enough to trigger a chemical thing in your body to actually happen and go through with the process in the physical form just because it was a dream. Cool. All right. So what's the difference between that and the possibility that right now all of our brains are just brains hooked up to some crazy ass futuristic AI shit and none of this is real? You don't know.
Right.
And that's what's fucked up about it. So all that neuroscience shit, like at some point you got to stop. Like I stopped searching. And when I say I stopped searching, it doesn't mean like I have stopped looking into things. It means that like for me personally, I've felt the hand of God, so to speak. And I know what my shit is. And that's all that matters. I don't need anybody else to know my shit because it's a very personal thing. But excuse me. The process of that, I feel like, is when you're truly, when you truly make that connection that like, all right, dude, I'm just not,
And
I'm not digging into it too far because I realize that all this could just fucking crumble at any fucking moment.
So all jokes aside, is that a good analogy, legitimately? Because it's like something that didn't really
Yeah,
happen.
I mean, yeah, and because it brings into play like something that's very tangible and real, and that a lot of people have happened to them, right? And then not a lot of people have trips, so that's a very relatable thing.
yeah, man, like you said, it's like you talk about your personal relationship or like you've been touched by the hand of God. Like at the end of the day, that's for you, right? Mm-hmm. You have your understanding of that. I've had mine. That's why I don't dig or pry or like, I read things I like to understand, like, connected with it into European stuff. And like, I like to learn, right? But I already know like in my heart what that is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, my closest thing to like maybe a trip to your degree was like getting hit by a car and like being near death. Mm-hmm. But that showed me like, I saw, I had my vision there. And that was almost like being touched by the hand of God, right? Like, hey, here you go. And that's my experience. And like, nobody can replicate that. Not many people can. So it's just like, I don't need to be told anything else. I don't need to dig deeper. Like, I know.
Well, that's the balance.
For me,
that's balance, right?
And that's okay. And just because I know that for me doesn't mean that's right for you. Does that make sense? So
that's balance, right? Like, because you talked about earlier in the episode today that like you've tested your faith, that you've read up on all these different faiths, right? So you did that part.
Yeah.
But there comes a point where you hit a point where it's like, okay, I believe what I believe, and like that's kind of what I hear you.
What's
saying.
here,
It's
man?
like,
That's what people fail to.
believe.
That's what people fail to do. We talked about the mind just being separate, right? Like your mind could be just this. You said something about the mind, but you're like, but I know I have my heart, and that's the thing, man.
You said your mind's not real.
A lot of people.
Yeah, you got to lose your mind.
Yeah. A lot of people they let their mind control all their outcomes, and to me, like I know in my experience, by letting my mind kind of take charge is where I've fallen short, or where I haven't been happy, or like I've made the wrong decisions. But like, man, when I started letting my heart lead, life's just gotten 10 times better. This experience has gotten 10 times better. So, that's just what I follow from now on. You know what I'm saying? It's rather than overthinking it or let my mind get crazy. And even, still does. I think your mind goes a little crazy sometimes. They all do. But like, we kind of come back to center, right? And like, oh, let this guide. But
when I like the saying the power's in your choice, right? So like your mind giving you like some crazy shit or some negative shit or some poking at an insecurity. I actually really like the way that you put that, because if you think about your mind as a tool, you don't take it so personally, you don't attach too much, so much to it. But it's like when that comes up, if you let your mind run free like that, where like it just says whatever it wants, does whatever it wants, allows controls you basically, versus you making the choice to not do those things, you're giving away your power. Right, you're literally giving away your power, because your power's in your choice to not, respond to negative thinking or to not respond to an impulse or whatever. So if you just let it run you, you're giving all your power away. Right, you're not in control.
Yeah.
So
gotta lead with the fire.
And I think that's easier to do again, because I think it's really difficult when you hear thoughts in your own voice. I think that for me that is what trips me up. And always has, is like. I found it difficult, and whenever I am able to separate them, it's like such a game changer. And made some progress on that, but there's still times all the time where I get caught up in some crazy thinking. And I think part of it is just because a lot of that thinking comes disguised in your own voice. It's like it's in my head. So this must be, but it's not. That's just what you hear because that's just your voice. But even those thoughts are not necessarily you. A lot of them came from when, again, the 4 agreements, right? That's what all that's about. You hear it as your voice, but these are agreements that came from somebody else.
Yeah.
And actually maybe that's why you hear it in your voice, right? It may be an external thing, but at some point you agreed to it. And so then it becomes something that you say. Right.
Some good shit.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Very insightful. Yeah. I do want to say, I got to pee, but I just thought about this. I was talking with a client about this. And so we're going to take a pee
Hold
break.
it till you burst.
But man, it was kind of crazy, right? Because we're talking about all this spirituality stuff. And I do want to transition into a couple of other things. But I was talking to a client about this, and I'll talk to him more about it. But we were talking about reincarnation, right? And your soul just like constantly evolving or like, whatever, but coming back after each lifetime. And we were talking about, he brought up babies. He's like, that's the frustrating part about like babies is because like they can't speak yet. But like when they first get here, they're frustrated and they want to tell you about that past life. They're closest to that experience. So they're like, they got this remembrance of this past life then when they're born. And they want to get that out to you, but they can't. And by the time they can speak,
They forgot
and they
that.
were able to share, society has like forced its ways, like humanity and all that stuff. It has forced its ways upon this baby, and it's already forgotten about it by then. And I was like, that's fucking nuts.
Which is a crazy
so like,
thing, yeah.
I'm just pretty sure my daughter is telling me some wild shit, man.
She's telling you about all the
She's
places
trying
she
to. She's like,
conquered and
Dad,
stuff.
fucking listen. I was
She's
trying
not-
to get that through to her the other day when I was sitting outside with her. I was just talking to her, and at one point I was like, "Hey, you can speak up if you need to." But I couldn't. She was just like, so it didn't really work. I was trying to get something out of her, man. It didn't work. And I was
I've done
trying to,
that with my dogs
I was trying
before.
to connect telepathically. Anyways,
Have you ever done that with your dogs before, where you just sit with them? You're like, look,
Yes,
nobody else is around. I won't tell anyone. I swear to God. Just say something. I
let it
know
out.
you can. I can see you trying to talk to me.
Yeah,
Just talk to me.
I've done that. I've been really high when I've done that. My German Shepherd, she's just like,
I probably was too.
yeah, and she just looks over at the treat cabinet, and I'm like, fuck. What do we want to tap on? We've been talking about some things recently. Obviously, we don't got time to really dive into them, but obviously, you're going to be back, so we can elaborate more. I know we've talked about honor. There's other things we've talked about in the past week that, we're talking about relationships a little
Bro,
bit.
this is a free country. We can talk about anything we want.
Yeah, I know, but what do we want to hit on? And I'll let you take away with it. I'm going to give you some ones and you'll choose, right? I know we were talking about some relationship stuff.
He's a funny guy. this
I
dude.
was talking to you about how, people are going to do what they want, and you were talking to me about something going on in your life, and I was like, well, my job is just to be here for you. Fuck. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what to tap on. I just want to transition. And
Do you want to tell your
Here's
story from earlier today?
I feel like that's appropriate.
Damn. Yeah. What do you mean?
it's up to you, man.
I mean, yeah, it's up to you, but it's definitely.
I mean,
appropriate.
you're not. We're asking you about it, so it's not like you're like, "Hey, look at me, I did this."
Yeah.
You
That's
know?
true. No, I asked.
But
her.
I mean,
or do you want to keep it intimate,
Yeah, that is intimate.
or do you want to keep
I prompted
keeping
you.
it close to you, rather than?
Yeah, I mean-
it's totally up to you.
It's up to you. But I prompted him for the record. He's not.
This is I feel like it stretches into the whole God thing too.
Right. That's what I mean. It
with-
seems very appropriate.
Yeah. It's just emotional for me. So try not to get emotional here. Yeah.
Dude, cry.
Fuck off, guys.
Dude, it's a safe place, brother.
I don't like that either. No, I'm just saying.
I didn't say.
No. At least you didn't say brother Jesse because Okay, Joe. Fine. I won't. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, exactly. You would not be happy.
Real men cry.
All right, whatever. So, for me on this journey, there's a lot of stuff that when you really start clicking in, like, I mean, it's one thing for someone to say to you, like, yeah, everything's God. And you could be like, oh, okay, cool. I get that. Like, there's so many people on the journey, and I was one of them at one point, kind of getting like, oh yeah, we're all one. And it's like, you definitely start feeling that when you're tripping, like how connected you are to everything.
Yeah.
But until like when you fully start realizing and also embodying, right? You realize that like, oh, Everything's one. Like there's nothing to fight. It's all a part of the same process. It's all you. It's all God. It's all the core. You're not really your faith turns into a walking conversation with God at all times. Like there's nothing that isn't God at all in my world, right? And so having had these experiences and stuff, it's like it's pretty wild to have things start happening in your life that's almost like not necessarily a test, but like communication from God. And it's this isn't the first time that this has happened with homeless people, but I have homeless people come up to me seemingly all the time when I like stop at a stop sign or park somewhere, and I have just started looking at my phone, or I'm kind of just sitting there for a second, or I'm waiting on traffic. And today I was waiting on traffic, and this lady came up to me, older lady. She came up and she was like, "Hey, I really don't mean to freak you out, but I really got to get across the street, and hopefully, can I have a ride, please? And I'm getting old, and I can't run like I used to, and all this stuff, and like I'm not gonna make it over there before breakfast." And like she's kind of just like telling me all this stuff. I'm like not really putting together like what she wants or what's going on, other than she needs a ride. So I start cleaning out the seat just because like I'm watching her, but my first instinct is like, yeah, give this lady a ride. Like she's like committing to talking to you, and she hasn't asked for anything yet. And it was pretty fast, but at the same time I was like, let's do it. So I'm cleaning out the seat and I'm listening to her, and she's like, I'm not asking for anything, and just need a ride. And she got in, she kept rambling, and I was just like, all right, cool. And then she was telling me that there's basically a place over across the street that's like a blue building that they serve food to the homeless in the morning and everything. But when she gets in the car and I start driving that direction, she just starts immediately telling me about her daughter that had passed away, and that's the reason she's down there. And she came down there to bury her. And then she was telling me how within the process of 8 months, she was saying, I've lost two daughters in the last 8 months, and that ain't right. And I don't even know how to really process all this stuff going on. And there's a lot of evil in this world and everything. And she was appreciative that I would drive her over there and get her to the building. She's telling me, all kinds of stuff about how, she told me a lot within the very small time span in my vehicle. She just kept talking. I didn't really say one word. And she was telling me how basically, not all homeless people are bad. We got a bad rep, and every people got a lot of this stuff wrong, and how, these people on the streets are out to get you. And some people are just down on their luck and having a hard time. And then, they want release. And so that's how they get into drugs. And that's how she lost her daughters and everything. And her name was Teresa. And we got to get there, and she's very thankful and everything. And I asked her, is there any way I could help you? And then she said, I'm pretty humble at this point. Any way you can help me, I'll take any way. And so I pulled up my wallet, and I gave her everything I had in my wallet, which I think was $100-something. So, and I just, to me, that stuff doesn't matter. To me, it's like the money doesn't matter. That's, there. If I have it to give, I have it to give. Of course, if I can't give it, I can't. Yeah. But at the same time, like I'm thinking, like, this lady doesn't sound like she's having a great time. Of course, she's not. But even if I can make someone have like a better day, and this lady wasn't looking for handouts. This lady wasn't like looking for any kind of. She just wanted to eat, man, and she wasn't going to make it in time. She was not going to get down there in time to eat because it would have been past time. She's like, I got to eat, man. I'm hungry, and I'm not going to make it. And so she was a very skinny, frail lady. She seemed very coherent, and she seemed clean. She didn't seem like there was anything wrong with her. She just didn't have a home, and she didn't ask for money at all. She didn't ask for anything at all other than the ride. And it was emotional because like as soon as I gave her the money, she started crying. And first thing she asked me was like, "Are you an angel?" And she just kind of shook my head. I was like, "I don't know about all that," but she was just thanking me. And the thing that impacted me the most was she was just like very emotional and crying. And she's like, somebody's going to bless you one day with, your mother, your daughter, or someone's going to do the same thing for them, for you doing this, for a mother like me today. And yeah, it just really hit me really hard, just the fact that she said that. Because as I said, I see everything as God, and it's just like, after all my journeys and after everything that's happened for me, I mean, that happened this morning on the way to this podcast. Like, it was just so random and so out of the blue. And I definitely, like, nobody has to do that stuff for anybody. But for whatever reason, I mean, I really do see us all as people being out here. And, that's what I told her too. I was like, man, we're all people. And like, in that means so much more than me just saying, like, we're all just people. Like, we're all in the same exact boat. And it really matters when you have the ability to stick that hand. Like, I don't know what I did for her day. I don't know how much her day changed, but it seemed like it changed a lot. And it was very small for me. It was a very small thing for me to do. That's not all, I'm not rich by any means, but like, what's in my wallet is what's in my wallet. You can have it. And a drive and taking, making me like 10 minutes late to here, it's okay.
Well, so, and oftentimes, like, a lot of people feel as if to help people or make a difference in someone else's day is going to take all this work.
Right.
But at the fact of the matter is like, just takes very simple action to like change someone's whole trajectory, at least for that day, right?
Yeah.
Or at least for the next several moments. And that has a bigger impact than everybody realizes, but they think it's almost
the
like
ripple effect of it, dude.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like a chore to like help somebody. So, it's going to, take all this extra effort, and like, it really doesn't take much at all.
Well, they think
and sometimes it comes right to you and you don't even acknowledge it.
It's the effort, and just in general, they feel like it's going to take something from them. It's like they don't, but like the energy she probably walked in there with today, versus when she finally made it over there and breakfast was closed, and, instead she's going in there with that story to tell people about, maybe these people have experienced they definitely have experienced the exact same thing that she has, as far as like that being a rare thing that happened.
Yeah.
So when she goes in there and tells all these people, you may have given a whole room full of people hope by doing something as simple as that. And the other thing I was going to say too is earlier when we were talking about it, I said that you were in the right place, like you were the right person to be there at that time. And we talked a lot today about people, how they find God, what they think God is, how they apply meaning to things. And that was something I was going to bring up earlier too, because in the last episode you talked about how your mind is a meaning-making machine. I made a clip out of that. And so that was relevant to that conversation earlier, because the ayahuasca experience has a meaning to you, just like the guy who wrote that comment has a book that's meaningful to him. It's really the same thing, ironically. But going to this experience, she said, "Are you an angel?" To her, you were an angel.
Did anybody else see that?
100%.
Oh my God.
Like, to
I
her,
thought you were an angel. I had this weird...
Whatever,
God.
Joe.
Anyways.
All right, Joe.
I saw an angel. I swear I saw something like behind it.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you.
No, you are an angel, bro. I do.
To her, you were that. Like that, just like you said earlier, it's just as real to her that you were an angel than it is anything else.
But Jesse, it's obvious you're a light in the world. This is why I like to have you around. It's part of, because I want people in my life directly connected that are people that are trying to be a light in the world and just do the right fucking thing. That's all. And you do that.
Can I ask you, were you wearing that shirt?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was living it.
But I'm just saying, like, but seriously, but I'm saying for you, think about that honestly. Like he's had this experience, right? And he's done this extremely kind thing for somebody that needed it.
I'd be pissed if he like robbed her in my shirt. Yeah, dude, come on. You could at least change your fucking shirt.
Exactly.
But
change, at least put
That's what you're worried about?
Put some tape over it, bro. Come on.
Not the robbing?
Yeah.
He's his mugshot for robbing.
Take
It's
it
just
off.
like,
yeah, just take it off.
I'm like, yeah.
But you
No,
have somebody,
Yeah, that could have been totally taken a turn. I robbed a homeless woman.
Yeah. So I had this really emotional experience today. I feel really bad because I beat the shit out of a homeless lady today, man. Oh my God. And, it really made me emotional,
Dude.
But in all seriousness, I mean, think about the fact that just out there in the world, Like that was, it's not like that was planned or anything like that, but somebody that is a part of this
Yeah.
that you've created, right? Like it tells you the quality of people that you, like you were just saying, it's like you've accomplished that goal because you have somebody, right, that's on the way to do a podcast. You know, obviously he's repping the brand because he works here and et cetera, but that's the point. He could be somebody else. And he's not, he's him. And the kind of person that you have here is the kind of person that's like Jesse, who's going to go do something like that.
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
just simple action,
amazing.
man. It's just, and it's such a simple thing. It's all you fucking did. It cost you 10 minutes of your day. That's it. Yeah. You know, and you did the right thing, and that could have a massive effect. It's just as simple as, you know, we talked about that old friend of mine that, you know, was a drug addict, and I Venmo'd him some money. And I was like, it's very simple. Dude, it's just fucking Venmo. It took me seconds. And I was like, what he does with it and how he moves forward in life is up to him. I'm just doing the right thing. And it worked out for the better. You know what I'm saying? And same with that, you know, and you definitely had an impact on our day. I'd like to say I had some kind of impact on his, but regardless, of just doing the right thing. And I think generosity has always been a massive thing to me. And just giving without expecting shit back, without expecting the universe to return it to you or whatever, you know, because if you're thinking that, you're having expectations, but
Right.
you give without expectations, you know. And I think I fucked up over the past couple years by really taking care of people around me and just expecting them to be decent back. That's
Yeah.
it.
Well, there's some level of
Nothing more.
standard, but yeah.
But even then, that's an expectation, and
Yeah.
I've been very disappointed by them. And it is what it is, you know. And the way I look at it, though, too, is like,
I don't think it's wrong to expect people to be decent.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
yes,
it's
the
not.
expectation, yeah, sure, but at the baseline of human reality.
Well, like,
Yeah.
on some level,
I know your story.
I'm looking
but
at a
I'm-
bigger scale.
on some level,
I know,
you
but I'm
expected
still
her-
defending you on this part
Yeah,
because
on
like
some level,
that's
you
there's
expect her not to assault you, right? Like on some level, you expected her not to assault you at least, right? Like that was like.
I didn't know.
But I'm just saying, like you were doing that purely out of the kindness of your heart. But there's still some baseline of like, okay, I'm going to do this. Please
She could
don't
stab you.
Yeah, please don't like attack me.
I don't know.
Like obviously,
but no, you know, I know.
without going into the deeper things, you know what I'm trying to say.
I know you're defending me. I try to just be. I try to like look at it this way just to make my like feel better too. You know, it's like because yeah, I mean, basic human instinct. You just expect decency. It's
Right.
that fucking simple, man.
Right.
Decency and honesty, and just like the people to be good.
I think that decent people deserve decency.
Yeah.
Right. And there's
a great way
nothing.
to put
There's nothing wrong with stating that you deserve the karma that is, and sometimes we receive things that quote unquote we don't deserve, but it's always in preparation of another step somewhere, right? And it's always and I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like, there's been a lot of people in your life that I've watched that, I mean, you got to think. I mean, just like me with relationships. I would say I'm more like this with relationships, and you're more like this with brothers. But like, you're a lot of the magic in that. You know, it's like the whole time, like you loved them and you felt this way about them and you felt super connected and you felt like, holy shit, like this is my brother. But the whole time, you don't really realize you didn't get shit.
Yeah,
Not even a little bit.
it's pretty big disappointment.
Yeah. Well, not just a disappointment, but I'm just saying, like, it's just shit moving out of your way. Like, I'm not necessarily talking about the disappointment. I'm just saying the reality of this. Like, when you step back with the rose-colored glasses, you see, like, the people that left you in your life are the people that weren't really doing very much. Like, what, hunting land? Like, what, like posting shit on RP? Like, what, like, not really, like, riding coattails.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Fuck it, I can hunt somewhere else. I don't need your, fucking prick like that to like, there's other opportunity. Yeah, it's frustrating because like, fuck you too, man.
shots fired, bitch.
Yeah, whatever.
Had to.
Do something. That being
I have
said,
no idea what's going on.
the way the way I look at it though is this, but if you think about it, you don't even realize that you're giving back to yourself by them exposing themselves, by you being so generous and maybe allowing this, right? In turn, they fuck you and they go away. But it's almost as like the universe is doing that magic, right? They're eliminating that out of your life, and if anything, that gives you more.
Right.
That makes more room for the better.
Addition by subtraction.
And so that's kind of what I always come back to, like, hey, but I'm glad they're out of my life.
Yep.
They were just going to be a leech anyways, or they were just going to be this, or they were just going to be that. And this is a lot of different people. And so, yeah, if anything, that's just like benefits me more in the long run rather than, you could be a generous dirtbag and then you just have these same people leeching or doing whatever they're doing off of you for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? So I think, if anything, like I won.
Yeah, whenever when I think about people that like what we're talking about, I think a good test of it, or like a good way to pretty clearly see it, is like all those people are like, I'm so happy that they're not in my life.
Oh yeah,
you know,
without doubt.
I'm just like, wow, I can't even, and like with a lot of them, it's like I can't even believe that I allowed that you were even in my life. But that's a good thing, because that's a clear contrast to, you know, how I was then when I did allow it. Now I'm like, I can't even imagine allowing that, you know. So I think that's a good tell, right? Like if you think about how was my life when this person was in there, and you're like, you know what, honestly, it was better then. Like they were motivating me or whatever. Okay, maybe that's somebody you shouldn't have cut out. Maybe you should try to reach back out to that person. If you think about it and you're like, yeah, that was shitty being friends with them, then probably not.
Dude,
Sorry.
My last relationship like still blows my mind on how jaded my mind was, you know, because like I had so many people.
We were talking about this.
Yeah, man, I still have so many people like like I've had some people that are like, bro, we were about to have an intervention. Yeah. Like we were about to pull you aside and talk. But like, you know, like in the relationship, like I thought this person was like so great. And I thought, you know, but again, going back, like I realized I put a lot of the magic into it, but like I get out of it and start looking at old pictures. I'm like, fuck is this? Like once it's all separated and once it's all like
removed from it.
Yeah. Like once it's removed, and I was like, just like looking at what I was doing, I was like, bro, I was really blinded. I was really, really in deep and blinded, and I did not see what was going on. But also just like this just isn't like, and you know, Jocko said it best on his podcast, is like
that's my fucking dude.
That's not the person that you fell in love with. That person isn't real. That person is the person that you made up in your head. Right. And it's, you know, that's something that I really strive, especially after this relationship, to stop doing that for everyone. Like that's why you always get my blank ass stare, Joe, is because like I'm observing. I really am truly observing without emotional reaction, emotional attachment. And I'm trying to sit more in that because A, it feels a little bit more natural to me nowadays, but also B, I feel like that's a true thing, because it's like, when you are talking to someone and telling them a story, and like that's the whole point of stories, like actual stories, but like when you're telling people stuff and their facial expressions, they're like, you know, they're like going through your story with you and seeing it from a point of view and getting real into it. And the only problem with that is they're not sitting in the back observing the whole process of the story.
Yeah.
And so it's like they're going through the story like a little kid listens to a bedtime story. Yeah. You know, with their imagination instead of actually hearing what you're saying. Because like I hear the story, but I also hear what you're saying, and I'm not getting emotionally wrapped up into it. Just like, you know, like I don't think there's ever going to be another girl that can talk to me and wrap me up. And it's not because I don't wish to be wrapped up. It's not because I'm saying like I'm a hard ass or anything. I'm saying because I realize that once you step out of reality and you go into the rapping and you go into this like weird little dance that you do, you're slowly further and further and further getting away from reality, and you're just going into a hole in your mind. Yeah. Whether it's good or bad, you know, but it's just like
I choose with that relationship. That's where you were going.
Yeah. I was completely entrenched in a hole in my mind. And but yeah, it was just, it was mind blowing how much magic I was given to that relationship, how much bullshit it was. And also along the whole way, you know, at various points I had most of my friends telling me like, you know, they didn't want to be mean about it, but like, dude, you're miserable. Dude, like this isn't, you haven't looked like you were doing so great, and now you look like you fucking hate your life.
Yeah. That's what real friends do, right?
Yeah, and I didn't want to be like, yeah, I fucking hate my life. And you know, there's, last thing I'll say is there's a quote that I saw the other day that really hit home, and I said it, and it was like, you know, you lied to people about me to like make me look bad, and I lied to people about you to make you look good. Like we're not the same. Yeah. And it was like, fuck, bro. Like
that's so true.
That's crazy. But
I know you feel that one too.
Yeah, I do. And one thing I will say though, you said that's good friends, and I agree 110%. But it's like I was talking to Jesse too the other day though, because he was talking about this situation, or you know, maybe move forward with another person or whatever, and you know, like what I might think or whatever. And I'm like, dude, my job is your friend, because I know from my experiences that like, guess what? 99% 99% of the time anybody's told me you should do this, I do the exact fucking opposite.
Right.
So coming from my experience, yeah, I mean, I could say, hey, this is what you need to fucking hear.
And we're very much
But
the
like
same.
when people tell me what I need to hear, I don't want to fucking hear it. I just want to figure it out on myself, you know, because at the end of the day, like I would much rather find out for myself. If I get burned, well, at least I don't have any fucking questions to ask. If I listen to what somebody else said and take that and make a decision based off that, then you always get left with the what if. And I don't want a fucking life of what ifs. I want a fucking life of, well, oh, well, you know, I figured it out. I did my best. And so like I said, like my position in our relationship is to be like, hey, man, it's like I told him, I was like, whether you move forward with this person, right? You get your heart broken, I'm fucking here for you with love. You're happy as hell, I'm still here for you with love, man. And that's my job, is to be here for you no matter what the outcome is, because I want you to make your own decisions and not regret anything. So,
but if you want to guide a person like that, though, how would you go about it then? Aside from just saying, like, listen, I'll be there for you regardless, which I think is important. But, like, if you, like, let's say that you did have a very strong feeling about, you know, a person, you know, he comes to you and he says, what do you think about this? And you did have a very strong feeling about it, but you know that he's probably going to do the opposite of what you say. So
I'm very optimistic. I'm very optimistic about things, you know. So, but like if he did pose a question to me, I'd be like, you know, just guard a little bit. I don't know. It depends on the question. If it was specific, hey, what do you think about this joke? Okay,
does
if
that
you
make sense
ask me for my opinion,
right?
Then I'm going to give you something a little bit more, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm not also going to shoot you down and make you
Right.
feel like a shithead for asking the question. I think if it's asked for, but like I don't like unsolicited opinions, you know. So if someone comes up, hey, I think this, I'm like, who the fuck do you think you are? It's like having a baby, right? It's the worst because you get like
Oh yeah, but
relatives or whoever, they're like, oh, you should do this, and it's like I'm not gonna fucking do that. I'm sorry, like stop. I didn't ask, you know. But so it's just one of those things. Unsolicited, no, but yeah, if he asked me, for sure. And that being said,
Hey, I think it's so interesting when people when it gets into the positions for people coming up and telling you their opinion, and then you being like, I didn't ask, and then their immediate thought in their head is like, oh, you just think you know everything.
Yeah.
It's like, what the, no,
Well, see,
honestly, that's a projection on what you just said, because you came out of nowhere thinking you know everything,
Yeah.
and you want to give your 2 cents, and then when it's not taken,
Yeah.
you know, it's like. That's huge entitlement energy. It's huge. Just, yeah. Well, I've been there, done that. So obviously I know. And it's like, there's so many people that have been there, done that, and done it so many different ways. And there, I mean, 1,000 ways to skin a cat on.
and guess
everything.
what? You've been there, done that, but I'm not you.
Right.
You're speaking off of your shit. Like it's, you know, a lot of people told me, oh, be careful. You know, when I met Lydia, I was like, I love this woman. Like, this is it. They're like, Joe, you love hard, or like, you know, you're this guy. Be careful, you know, be wary. And then, what do you fucking know? You know, we got a family together, and it's the best thing. It's the greatest blessing, and I followed my heart with it. You know, and I didn't give a fuck what anybody else thought. And because in the past, my past relationship, I really just kind of listened to other people's opinions, but they didn't really know what was going on behind the scenes, right? You know, so anyways, and we could talk more about that stuff. I remember talking about like, I wanted to share, talking about traveling and shit, and like, you know, in the past relationships and having all these grand experiences, but it was with the wrong person. And I was talking about how, you know, just the simplest things with my woman now have been the better memories in those, you know, and it's just crazy.
well, yeah, I was thinking earlier, like sometimes we tell stories, but there's also a huge place for this kind of conversation.
Yeah, and these are some of the things, because I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about, there's some controversy, like we want to talk about honor and like, you know, living that way, which should like also add to, I want to talk about something that's been getting me going lately, is just like this age of degeneracy thing, and like observing a lot of things just even directly around me and in my community that I'm just like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. And you and I were talking about that, and I think it might ruffle some feathers, but fine. You know, because we're going to share our thoughts on it. And
So stay tuned for that.
You know, is what it is. But anyways, stay tuned. Anything else you got to say, Jesse, before we cut?
Nope.
All right. Yeah, we'll see him again because his room is right across the office. But hell yeah. Thanks for being here, Jesse. Thanks for making the time today, last minute when I texted you at like 8 p.m. And Logan, thank you for being here always. We couldn't do this without you.
Of course.
I mean, I try, but
Honored.
it'd be weird.
Honored to be here.
But love you dudes. Hey, thank y'all for being here. And until next time.